I want to thank our congressional leaders who are partners in this effort, who have been very instrumental in organizing the churches and putting it together with Northwell Health, especially Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez and Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from Brooklyn, and Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who we're going to hear from in a moment. I also want to thank the church groups. This is not in the normal line of business for churches to be setting up testing sites for a COVID virus, but I think it is the mission of the churches. They're there to serve the community. They're there to work with the community and meet the needs at that time, and this is the need at that time. So they've been extraordinarily helpful and cooperative. I also especially want to thank Reverend Rivera and Reverend David Brawley for coming up with the idea and then working with the other groups to get them to all participate. So we've never done anything like this before, but there are a lot of firsts for all of us in this situation. So I want to thank them very much for what they're doing here. And it's my pleasure to announce that we're being joined with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, who is a personal friend of mine. He's a great star for the state of New York. In Washington, his voice, his leadership has been pivotal, not just for New York, but for the entire nation. And this is a time when we need the federal government to actually work, and work well, and work efficiently, and work effectively, and work for the people, which sometimes doesn't happen in Washington. And the people, the police, the firefighters, the people of this state couldn't have a better, more powerful advocate than Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. And the congressman worked tirelessly to put together this arrangement that we're announcing today with the churches. Again, it is a different type of partnership, but we do what we have to do in New York, and the congressman saw the need, and he reached out to the church groups and brought them together to be where we are today. Congressman, thank you so much for everything you do, but especially thank you for what you did to bring these church groups together with Northwell so we could announce this initiative. Congressman, good to be with you.
Good morning, Governor. Great to be with you. And of course, thank you for the tremendous leadership that you have provided to the people of the Empire State and, in fact, the nation in so many ways during this moment of trial and tribulation. And I just appreciate the fact that your leadership has been evidence-based, data-driven, compassionate, and comprehensive. And today's announcement is just another example of that. We know that this is an extraordinary pandemic, and it requires an extraordinary governmental response at all levels of government. It's all hands on deck at the city, the state, and the federal level. And the New York delegation is committed to continuing to work with you to make sure that we can drive the federal resources into New York State to match the level of infection, pain, suffering, and death that we've all had to endure. It's an all of government moment, and of course, an all of America moment, as you've encouraged all of us to dig deeper here in New York and throughout. And in that spirit, we know that the houses of worship, the spiritual community, has always been there to help the community get through a storm. These churches have been there through the crack cocaine epidemic to welcome people in while others were rejecting them. Our churches have been there, for instance, to address the high rates of gun violence in our community through gun buyback programs, taking thousands of guns off the streets in their congregation buildings. And we also know that these houses of worship, our churches, our spiritual leaders have been there to partner with the state and with law enforcement organizations like the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office through Begin Again initiatives to address old warrants and summons and citations that can impact the ability of people from communities of color to be able to get all of the opportunities to benefit from our full economy. And so now at this moment, thanks to their continued engagement and your leadership and willingness to partner, we can address this COVID-19 pandemic with these houses of worship and religious leaders who have the credibility, the authenticity, and the capacity to reach those in the community who need to be tested. Because at the end of the day, this is not over for any of us until it's over for all of us. And as you've indicated, we know that communities of color have been hit particularly hard. We are disproportionately overrepresented amongst our essential frontline workers, live in dense environments, and have historically been under-resourced throughout the nation. And so this testing initiative will be incredibly essential into ensuring that we can turn the corner in communities of color, such as those that I represent, as well as those represented, of course, by great members of the delegation like Nydia Velasquez, Yvette Clark, Greg Meeks, Adriano Espaillat, and so many others. So thank you, Governor, for your partnership. I thank EBC and the other church coalitions for their initiative and willingness to do what is necessary for us to confront this storm. The scripture says, weeping may endure during the long night, but joy will come in the morning. And I'm thankful for your leadership, Governor Cuomo, thankful for the partnership with our houses of worship, and we're all going to be there with the community until it's morning time in the United States of America once again.